Bradshaw goes after Aaron Rodgers earlier this week when he's doing local radio in Arkansas and rips Rodgers and says, he wouldn't even know my name. I had to introduce myself. You talk to him, it's like a blizzard. It's snowing because it's so cold. It's frosty, all that type of stuff. And he essentially says, if you don't want to play, then take a hike because the Steelers are the Steelers. And while Terry Bradshaw might sometimes come off as old guy, maybe out of touch guy, and there's certainly an argument to be made, well, isn't Aaron Rodgers at 41, even if he doesn't play in OTAs and doesn't report until July or August, better than Mason Rudolph, better than what the Steelers have? You can make that argument. But I think that Terry Bradshaw is the only guy that can say how the other guys feel. Bradshaw is on Fox. They're not going to take that job away from him because he says something about Aaron Rodgers. Bradshaw's probably not even long for Fox. He's going to retire here soon. And even when he's been on Fox, he's kind of been a bit of a Barkley character, say whatever he wants to say. I think your Mean Joe Greens, your Mel Blunts, your Rocky Blyers, your James Harrisons, your Hines Wards, those guys who have won championships, Super Bowls, they know what it's like to watch the 70 Steelers come in and share that ring, share that Lombardi, share that glory. I think the 70 Steelers, who knew there was no star. I mean, the most famous players of the team were oftentimes the defensive players because as a unit, they were so great. Ham and Lambert and Green and Greenwood and Blunt, and the list goes on and on. For those guys, the stalwart, the Swans, who they would catch 30 passes a year, Chuck Noll made sure nobody was bigger than the Steelers. The only way you could succeed is if everybody bought in, and they all did. They all did. And I think what Bradshaw is saying is, this is not your normal franchise. This isn't just a team that has no history or legacy and they're desperate for anything. This isn't the Jaguars, the Cardinals. This is a proud franchise with proud former players and alumni. And watching Aaron Rodgers say, I got stuff to take care of. Maybe I'll play. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll be a Steeler. Maybe I won't. Well, maybe the Vikings are still open. Maybe I'm not interested. Maybe I'll retire. That is insulting to Steelers players who actually have hardware, that actually knows what those colors and that helmet and that history and that team means. It's insulting. And I was happy that at least one of them said that because I think they're all nodding in agreement, but they don't want to say it because if Rodgers becomes the Steelers quarterback, they don't want to create a firestorm with the team that they love, with the franchise that invites them back. I think the Steelers are embarrassing themselves by putting all the eggs in the basket of a guy that is so much about himself. And they put themselves in an impossible situation because either you beg for Aaron Rodgers and let him do whatever he wants, or it's Mason Rudolph under center for week number 1 and beyond. I think it's embarrassing that the Steelers have done this to themselves. And what Bradshaw said there, I believe, resonates with all of those guys who have won for the Steelers and played for the Steelers and look at Aaron Rodgers like, who do you think you are?